tonight. Saskatoon police say they have a plan to tackle violent crime in the city's Pleasant Hill neighborhood.
He was basically at death's door.
This teen almost died from carbon monoxide poisoning at work. His parents say his employer got off easy. And how one Saskatoon man says bird watching helps care for the planet on this Earth Day.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Earth Day, Monday, April 22nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams, in for Sam McKeag. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a violent April in Saskatoon. In a one-week span, there were 2 homicides and 70 assaults across the city. Now, police say they have a plan for one neighborhood where the violence is especially bad. And as Dan Zakreski reports, they hope it will work in other parts of the city.
His name is Cade Lee. The 25-year-old is the city's 8th homicide victim this year. Lee was shot here in Pleasant Hill. Now, this area has lots of violence, but police say it's not caused by a gang war. These incidents are isolated and there's no clear pattern. Now, people who work on the street say the issues behind this violence are not unique to this neighborhood.
It's the perfect mixing pot of what can go wrong and what's going to go wrong and what's going to continue to get worse.
Don Meikle has worked on the streets for 3 decades. He says a mix of drugs, poverty, and homelessness is affecting the whole city. Crystal meth and fentanyl are making people dangerous and unpredictable.
People are just taking it and taking more of it, and it's destroying their minds. We've got people now that are walking around that they don't see any better future for tomorrow. And there's, you've got homelessness is crazy. Everything is just, people are so unpredictable.
Police know there's a lot of violence in Pleasant Hill. They've got a plan for the neighborhood. Police laid out the plan last week. The first step is to work with the community association and other people who live in the neighborhood. Next is to see where other agencies like the fire department are getting calls from. This could be anything from overdoses to people in abandoned buildings. Finally, shifting resources. Next month, police are going to be moving 3 veteran officers to work specifically here in Pleasant Hill.
It gives us a few more options because we are potentially in the right place at the right time more often in a number of different ways, and we're taking feedback more quickly from the community to be able to tell us where to be.
Those officers I know will do a really good job for us.
Pringle says police believe this model can be duplicated in other neighborhoods. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The province has launched a new phase of public awareness campaigns focusing on interpersonal violence and abuse, and they're targeting a specific age group, 18 to 24.
As you saw, the videos are really focusing in on young people because we know at that age, that's when you're starting to form significant relationships. And so we want to ensure that they understand what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate.
The Face the Issue campaign is a partnership between several ministries. Ross says they want to create true and lasting change by sharing these videos on social media platforms. The series of 5 videos will run for 6 weeks on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube, as well as Spotify. The opposition NDP is calling for the Premier to fire his education minister, saying Jeremy Cockrell lied about an apology to a grieving parent last week. Cockrell met with Taya Thomas to talk about supports for students in classrooms. Thomas's oldest daughter, Mayelle, required intensive supports. Mayelle died in December. When referring to negotiations with teachers, Thomas says Cockrell said during their meeting, quote, "What do they want me to do? Give up my firstborn child?" Thomas says Cockrell did not apologize during the meeting. Cockrell says he did. Cockrell did offer an apology in the Assembly on Thursday, but leader Carla Beck says that's not enough.
He's lost the trust of the people of this province. He has lost respect across the province. And frankly, this reflects on the Premier if he continues to allow this minister to serve in this capacity.
What was a very poor choice of words by the Education Minister, of which he apologized for, Mr. Speaker. There is much that this Education Minister is doing that is in the best interest of students and our classrooms and our teachers across the province, Mr. Speaker, and he retains the full confidence of myself, the full confidence of his cabinet, and the full confidence of his caucus, Mr. Speaker.
Mo shared his condolences with Thomas. She was back at the legislature on Monday. Canada's Governor-General Mary Simon is on her first official trip to Saskatchewan. The country's first Indigenous Governor-General met with Saskatchewan's first Indigenous Lieutenant Governor, Russ Marasti. Her first stop was at the legislature, where she greeted students and took in a rain-soaked welcome from the Premier. Simon will make a few stops on her visit, including later this week at Wanuskewin Heritage Park. She previously made a stop here in September 2022, meeting with members of James Smith Cree Nation following the mass stabbing in that community. A family from Kenora is speaking out after their teenage son suffered carbon monoxide poisoning at work. They say their son could have died, but his employer faced no serious consequences. More now from Go Public's Rosa Marcatelli.
This is Will Kratenko in his uniform on the first day of his first part-time job. Just a few months later, the then 14-year-old was poisoned at work after a supervisor told him to clean enclosed areas in the meat department of this grocery store with a gas-powered pressure washer.
I started feeling lightheaded and dizzy.
Will staggered to the front of the store and collapsed. He was rushed to hospital with severe carbon monoxide poisoning.
He was basically at death's door.
Another teen got sick just the day before, the same way, according to text messages between that employee and a supervisor. According to the workplace safety report, both teens were not supervised and had not received safety training on how to use the gas pressure washer.
If he would have passed out in that meat department alone with the pressure washer on, he could have been dead right there.
Despite all of that, there was no penalty for the employer. The family couldn't believe it. The problem? A lot of provinces can't issue hefty fines directly to companies who put workers in harm's way. Instead, they can issue orders to fix violations, or they can try to pursue hefty fines in court, which is expensive and time-consuming.
We need other tools. So for serious incidents like this, where for whatever reason there isn't going to be a prosecution, that there can be a significant financial penalty.
The grocery store tells Go Public the gas pressure washer, similar to this one, was unauthorized, brought in by an employee who no longer works there, saying it will ensure an incident like this never happens again. Will says he hasn't been the same since he was poisoned at work.
I have headaches. It's hard to focus when I'm grabbing my head and thinking about the headaches that are happening all the time.
Carbon monoxide poisoning can lead to long-term health problems.
It's the unknown, right? It's really the unknown.
What's your essay on?
The family says they want to advocate for more severe consequences. But for now, they're focusing on Will's health. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
An organization to help young entrepreneurs is getting a funding boost. Futurepreneur Canada will get $60 million in federal money. The federal government re-announced the spending inside Saskatoon's Fable Ice Cream today. Its owners are among those who have received collateral-free loans from Futurepreneur.
What you saw this year was doubling down. Why? Because we see the success of Fable. Fable is giving us, the validation that we need to continue, because they identified an opportunity, they follow their passion, and now for more than 6 years they've been making the joy of many people here in Saskatoon.
The feds estimate the investment will lead to more than 6,000 businesses launching or upscaling by 2029. Just over 300 Saskatchewan businesses have been involved with Futurepreneur. The organization has received $161 million federal dollars since 2001. Well, one of the province's biggest indoor markets is losing its home. Centennial Market in Regina will close May 26th. It's lived in the former Sears clearance building for more than 8 years, but the fire department recently found the building is not up to code, so the building's owner is putting it up for sale. The news has left vendors and shoppers with mixed feelings.
Can we afford to go someplace else and perhaps pay 2 or 3 times the rent we have for the same facilities? And I guess that's not. A lot of people, that just doesn't work. A lot of people here are just hobbyists. It's just not like a normal shopping mall. It's different. People come in here and they play their guitar and they play their piano and then they disappear again. It's a very strange but lovely, unique marketplace. And it's something you grow into. And you can't replicate that instantly. It takes a long time.
It was pretty disappointing. You know, we spent $800 or $900 getting set up and started getting things going. So yeah, for us to only have, you know, less than 2 months to operate, you know, there's no way we can get that money back.
I have been coming here as long as it's been open, and I've shopped every stall there is and enjoyed everyone. So many wonderful people. I've shopped with them all. I've gotten to know them all. It's been great.
When we come back, one way to observe Earth Day, we check in with a birding expert who says you can celebrate the Earth by appreciating the beauty and the birds in your own backyard. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Welcome back. Well, today is Earth Day, and one Saskatoon man says while today is all about caring for the planet, it also means appreciating the natural spaces in your own neighborhood. Jason Warwick explains.
We have all the spruce trees around, and so I like really just getting away from the noise of city life and enjoying a leisurely walk through the trees, listening to the birds.
Birding expert Stan Shattuck spends a lot of time in this park near his Saskatoon home.
I can hear a house finch singing and a robin somewhere over on the other side of the park.
Shattuck hosts 35 different birdwatching tours all over the province in prime birding locations. He says some protections and conservation efforts have helped certain bird populations, but he says climate change, loss of habitat, and other threats could overwhelm those efforts. For example, burrowing owls were once plentiful around Saskatoon, but they're gone now.
The most endangered ecosystem in the world is not the tropical rainforest, it's prairie grasslands. And we call ourselves a prairie province here, but we're now down to maybe at best 13% of the land in Saskatchewan is still prairie.
Shattuck is hosting grouse watching tours later this month. He hopes these excursions will help people see the value and beauty of natural spaces.
Shattuck says you don't need to be an expert birder to appreciate Earth Day. He says you can get out to parks to enjoy the song of the birds, the smell of the trees, and the fresh air in green spaces just like this. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A grass fire that threatened homes north of Regina is now under control. The fire started Sunday afternoon near Regina Beach. A number of volunteers and nearby fire departments responded to the blaze. An official with the town says high winds made it difficult to contain at times, but no buildings were lost and no one was hurt. We still don't know how the fire started, but it's still being monitored for hot spots. Environment Canada says dry, warm weather along with gusty winds this week are increasing the risk for grass fires in the province.
This weather update is brought to you by Titan Automotive, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Riley Laychuk, joins us now. Of course, the wind not helping that situation today, Riley. But of course, the big question, are we going to get more of that rain?
Well, unfortunately, the parts of the province that need the moisture, Ethan, not in the cards, at least right now. Looking at sort of longer range here with our rain potential for the next 5 days. And yes, you can see most of southern Saskatchewan and southern Alberta really in not a lot of precipitation on the way. Parts to the north, though, looking like we could over the next 5 days or so 15 to 20 millimeters of rain on the way, but not the areas that really need it in parts of the province. We'll talk about the winds in just a moment, but looking at satellite radar right now, a little bit of everything today. Bit of cloud, mostly sunny to the north. Southern parts of the province, though, getting scattered showers through the day today, and yes, a whole lot of wind across parts of southern Saskatchewan through the day today as well. Looking at peak wind gusts for the south, at least, yes, some numbers in the 70s for Moose Jaw, almost an 80-kilometer hour gust in Assiniboia, and Coronach in the extreme southern part of the province, marking a gust this afternoon at 81 kilometers an hour. Regina 61, and a little bit lighter back to the north. We'll see winds start to lighten up as we get into the day tomorrow. Looking at what we have in store for your Tuesday, starting the day nice and sunny. Yes, most of that precipitation moving off into Manitoba as we get into the overnight period tonight, leaving us with a sunny sky. A few passing clouds as we get through the later part of the day. Maybe a few sprinkles yet in northern parts of the province, but certainly Tuesday and Wednesday, not a lot of weather to talk about aside from a mainly sunny sky. And yes, that is reflected on rainfall forecast accumulations over the next 24 hours or so. Really just a trace yet to come through extreme southern parts of the province and back into the southeastern corner of the province as we get into the later part of Tuesday. So most of that scattered shower activity for the most part is done, but yes, we could still see a few sprinkles as we get into the overnight period tonight. Daytime highs today about normal or so, a little bit below normal through the southeastern part of the province, but Kindersley Leader getting up to 15, 16 degrees, Regina getting up to 11 this afternoon, and 14 in Saskatoon. We do jump up into the 20s as we look at your 7-day forecast. A bit of cloud cover on Thursday, a high of 22 degrees. Then we get a bit of a windy weekend ahead. Friday and Saturday could see winds gusting up to 40, and then another 20-degree high for your Monday. And in Saskatoon, mainly sunny rest of the week for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Yes, also getting into the 20s for both Wednesday and Thursday. Not as windy the further north you go in the province, so we're not expecting those really gusty winds that we saw through parts of southern Saskatchewan returning as we get into the later part of the week. 14s and 13s for Friday, Saturday, and almost getting up to 20 degrees once again for next Monday. And really, for northern parts of the province, Ethan, not a lot of precipitation in the forecast either.
Yeah, we'll be hoping for more rain for all of us for sure. Thanks so much, Riley.
You're welcome.
We typically have over 8,000 attendees, as well as over 20 drum groups and over 600 dancers that attend. So it's definitely a lot of planning.
A successful 45th annual Spring Celebration Powwow for the First Nations University of Canada in Regina over the weekend. This despite a bear spray incident Saturday night that canceled some of the celebration. Things did resume as normal on Sunday morning, though. The annual event generates more than $1 million in economic activity for the city of Regina. We're back after the break. A Regina man with cerebral palsy says his mother has done almost everything for him his entire life, and he knew changing that would be difficult for both of them. He wrote about his experience and shared it with his mom and with us.
Mom, I'd like to read you something.
Okay.
Recently, I moved out of my parents' house. I took stock of my life and I said, I'm 30 years old. Mom's not going to be here forever. And it's time for me to, get out and experience the world and make sure I'm okay for when, Mom passes away. As grim as that is to say.
You always think that day's never going to come, right? I knew that we needed to get things in place for the time that I wouldn't be around anymore.
I know plenty of adults move away from their parents, but the story of how I came to live independently is different because I'm different. I have cerebral palsy. The disability affects everything I do. My left hand does not work at all. When I say my mom did everything, I do mean everything. For example, when I wanted ketchup on my food, Mom would put it on.
When they're little, you do things for them, right? And I was a stay-at-home mom for many years, so I did everything for them. I thought, that's what I'm here for, right? But probably that's not the greatest thing. You need to let your children learn things, but it becomes a tough habit to break, doing everything for them. And then someone say, well, why don't you, because I don't want to see him struggle, so I'll do it. Now I can't see him. He's doing it.
I didn't want to upset Mom, but I realized she wasn't going to be around forever. So I decided it was best to move out now, while she was still around to help me learn the ropes of living by myself. My mom was supportive of this decision. In fact, she was the one who found the condo I'm living in. Despite that support, she had her fears, with her main one being if I were to fall. She worried about me not being able to get up off the floor. I'll admit that if I fall over, what do I do? Mom does all the cooking, so I was like, I can't cook. And if I tried to cook, I just had all these visions of, fires and the firefighters here and smoke alarms going off and
There, voila, breakfast.
ta-da.
The breakfast of champions.
Want me to start eating?
That's okay.
Okay.
Unless you really want to talk to her.
To see him so happy makes me so happy. It really does. I thought, wow, he loves it. And I'm glad we took that step. It's a great sense of pride that he's done it.
I always worried about my parents dying and leaving me to fend for myself. I no longer have that fear. I know I'll be just fine.
That's great, Dylan.
Thanks, Mom.
And Riley is back now with one last look at our forecast.
And a much less windy day ahead tomorrow. Ethan, looking at your day planner for Tuesday, starting off at -1, so dipping below the freezing mark ever so slightly tomorrow morning. South winds at 10 though, so a far cry from what parts of Saskatchewan saw today. By noon, jumping all the way up to 10 degrees and 16 by the time we hit the afternoon. South winds at 15 tomorrow. For Saskatoon, we're looking at 1 degree first thing in the morning. A mainly sunny sky. We're looking at a sunny 12 by the time we hit the lunch hour tomorrow. And by the time we hit the later afternoon, a high of 17 degrees tomorrow afternoon. So Ethan, really jumping back to above seasonal conditions as we head into the day on Tuesday. And yes, a lot less windy in the south as well.
Yeah, you will not find me complaining about that,
yeah,
for sure.
Same.
Thanks so much, Riley.
You're welcome.
And before we leave you tonight, it has been a long time coming for one northern Saskatchewan community, but Big Island Lake Cree Nation finally has a community center. The center on the Cree Nation northwest of Meadow Lake officially opened Friday. It's a space for elders to meet and for youth to learn land-based teachings. The school's vice principal says its existence is a statement of resiliency and teamwork.
It creates an environment of sharing stories, sharing ideas, and it's a really great place for our youth to feel that sense of belonging. Both to their community, to nature, and of course to the elders and the community in general.
The building was constructed with future generations in mind, and it was built with materials to withstand all elements the northern community faces, including mold and fire. And that is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can head to our website, our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.